So it's official, XRP flipped Blackrock in market cap over $180 billion now. And the crypto market is recovering today, seeing a nice bounce back to the upside. So in today's video, we have to get into the XRP to US dollar price chart. But more importantly, we're talking about the secret tie between Ripple and Blackrock and why they could potentially be building the exact same system under different names, and why the SEC has been postponing their decision on virtually all XRP ETFs and what BlackRock has to do with all of this. Because BlackRock now holds over 550,000 Bitcoin at $52 billion. And Larry Fink's response in this interview says it all. So we're going to dive deep. Why hasn't BlackRock filed for an XRP ETF yet? Despite Ripple's victory and growing ETF momentum, the world's largest asset manager is still sitting out. Is this because there's no interest for XRP? Well, obviously not. It's the second largest altcoin in the world. And the president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been going all in on crypto. So clearly there is massive demand here, but they have a chess piece that Larry Fink is waiting to move. And I'm going to share with you what that chess piece is by the end of this video, because it will drastically transform how you view Ripple as a company, XRP as a currency, and what's happening with the US dollar and the direction of money in the future. So if you guys hold any crypto and if you like making money, then you're going to absolutely love this video. So comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish. And as always, if you're going to become the first millionaire or even billionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. Have you built a crypto portfolio over $1 million but want to access your wealth without selling any of your coins? Well, imagine unlocking up to 85% of your portfolio's value to fund ventures like real estate, to buy other projects in the crypto space that are undervalued compared to the projects that you currently hold, or to diversify into different DeFi yield opportunities. That way you can live on the interest without selling any of your crypto. Well, we've partnered with a leading global office offering non-recourse crypto loans for investors with portfolios starting at $1 million. The same company that is trusted by the world's largest institutions and investors, because as you already know, the billionaires don't sell their crypto, they borrow against it. So if you're ready to unlock up to 85% of your portfolio's value without selling any of your coins, and you have a portfolio with at least $1 million, then email us at team@bullrunners.com. You're going to see our email contact in the description below, and we'll get you connected with the company that has helped clients like ours north of $100 million borrow against their crypto without selling any of it. So reach out to start a conversation with our team right now at team@bullrunners.com, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, Bull Runners, welcome back to the channel. So if XRP has officially flipped BlackRock in market cap, it clearly means that there's more demand for XRP than BlackRock. So why have they been silent about ETFs for XRP if there's more demand there? Well, let's dive into the secret tie between BlackRock and Ripple, because a lot of people have been saying that they've been building the same system under different names. So we first need to start right here.
But crypto is going to play a big role. The digitization of currency, digitization of everything we're doing. I'm a big believer in this. Is one thing that will change Bloomberg even. I believe we're going to be in the cutting edge of tokenizing bonds and stocks.
It's coming.
And we have the technology now. The fact that we are now moving forward in tokenization every bond and stock is crazy. Yeah. We should be moving towards that frontier. Obviously, there's winners and losers and all that, but we need to be prepared for the tokenization. And it would democratize more finance if we tokenized bonds and stocks.
Now, I don't know if this lady is chuckling here because she doesn't believe him or if she just doesn't know how to react to what he's saying here, but it's very clear that the CEO of the largest asset management company in the world is saying the next generation for markets will be tokenization of stocks and bonds. We need to listen. Doesn't matter whether you like him. Doesn't matter whether you think he's a reptilian or a shapeshifter. What matters is what they're planning on doing and how you can benefit from it financially to support your family, inevitably create generational wealth by understanding their next move. Because did you know that US treasuries are already tokenized on the XRP ledger via Ondo Finance? And if you want to guess who's quietly partnered with Ondo, well, you guessed it. That's BlackRock. Now, Ondo's co-founder came from Goldman Sachs. So did most of BlackRock's top people. So did Gary Gensler. And Ripple faced Gensler against the SEC. They fought, they settled, they walked away cleaner than anyone expected. Even though it took a lot longer than everyone expected. What if it wasn't a punishment? What if it was initiation? And Ripple's right to passage, which I said about 3 years ago is what's taking place, because you've seen Tesla get sued how many times by the SEC? You've seen Microsoft get sued how many times by the SEC? You go on the official SEC website, And you can research this for yourself and see how many suits there are against people like Elon Musk. And look at how big Tesla is today. So just look up any big company and you'll see the SEC goes after them. And so the uninitiated investors look at that as a bad thing, whereas the smart investors like you see that as a good thing. So what company did the SEC attack the hardest? Clearly Ripple. So that tells me that Ripple is the chosen one. Now also Blackrock already has an ETF called iShares Genomics Immunology and Healthcare Index ETF, where the ETF is all about investing in DNA, health data, and genomics infrastructure. And if you go to blackrock.com, you guys can officially see this on their website right here. And it's currently available in Canada right now. So if you are in the United States, I'm not sure if you're able to get this. Maybe I'll make another video on this project specifically here. But wait till you see what's happening on the XRP ledger. Because this project launched on July 4th, the same day Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, and 2011 Bitcoin wallets mysteriousally started to wake up. And their goal with this project was to decentralize and sovereign DNA identity, encrypted medical data, and access credentials for the post-reset world. So guess what ticker they chose? XDNA. Why would they put an X in front of it? Well, it's very interesting how Brad Garlinghouse just handed us a massive breadcrumb, and most people missed it. He admitted that the government owns your identity. Listen to this.
Who owns your identity?
Yeah, it's not me, unfortunately.
It's not you. What's interesting, though, the government owns your identity.
Yep.
If you don't have a passport or a birth certificate or a driver's license, whatever, I don't know each country's dynamic, but like, if you don't have those things, you are not who you say you are.
No.
The government owns your identity. Now, we may not like that, but I just view that as, that's just a truism. And one of the things Ripple has tried to do is we're pragmatic. Even though my philosophical view on something may be over here, to build a business and to drive the success of the XRP ecosystem, sometimes you just have to be pragmatic about the world. Even though I love the idea of blockchain-based identity as a utility for blockchains.
So that's a big key right there, being pragmatic about how the world works and learning how to thrive when you can't do enough to stop something. For example, Ripple is a company. They're not here to fight the system. They're here to absorb it pragmatically and strategically. That's why they donated to both sides of the party, depending on whoever got elected, Democrats or Republicans. And whereas the mob mentality, or people who didn't like Donald Trump, saw that they donated to the Republicans, they didn't like Ripple. And on the vice versa, people were like, did you see that Chris Larson donated to the Democrats? And they made their decision based on that, when you got to understand how chess is truly played. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some pieces in order to win the game, because it's all about the war, not the battle here. So what if the XRP ledger is quietly becoming the foundation for sovereign on-chain identity? Brad didn't say it outright here, but he didn't need to. Because Ondo has deep ties with BlackRock. Ondo's founder, Nathan Ullman, is ex-Goldman Sachs, like many at BlackRock. The Larry Fink Gensler Goldman triangle here. And BlackRock's Aladdin platform is the central brain of global asset management, managing over $20 trillion. So rumors are out there that Aladdin has tested blockchain-based cross-border payment rails on RippleNet. Now, I'm not going to confirm or deny that. I'm not here to spread rumors, but we're going to get down to the facts over the next few minutes, because XRP Ledger's interoperability with the ISO 222 and FedWire's July 14th deadline makes it an ideal plugin here. Because Ripple has been emphasizing its push into tokenizing real estate, treasuries, CBDCs, commodities, and this mirrors BlackRock's digital asset strategy to unlock $100 trillion in capital through tokenization. So it's the same playbook, same timing, same target, same words that Larry Fink has been using about tokenizing everything on chain.
I think the big thing that's changed around tokenization is, again, one reason to be very optimistic about where we are in the evolution of crypto. The largest financial managers, asset managers on the planet are talking about, whether it's BlackRock, I mean, certainly Blackstone, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity. I mean, these are, some of the largest asset managers on the planet are actively working on talking about. Larry Fink is, he thinks this is underhyped. This is going to fundamentally change how finance works, and it's going to democratize and give more people access, which is, it really has been the promise of crypto from the earliest days. So it's exciting to see kind of it come to fruition.
Or maybe, just maybe, BlackRock saw what Ripple was doing and they decided to compete. So they used Gary Gensler to slow them down, establish Aladdin, and built partnerships with someone else, maybe XLM, XDC, or another project. What are your guys' thoughts on the matter? Because when we look at this right here, the SEC is now postponing its decision on the Bitwise Spot XRP ETF, Canary Spot XRP ETF, Grayscale XRP ETF, and All the other ETFs are being delayed now. And this is actually confirmed too. If you go to Grok and you ask it, the SEC has not made final decisions on the spot XRP ETF applications filed by various asset managers. Instead, they delayed their rulings, extending review deadlines into October of 2025 for multiple proposals, which is virtually all of them. Grayscale, 21 Shares, CoinShares, Bitwise, Canary Capital, Wisdom Tree, Franklin Templeton. The only one that they have approved is the ProShares Ultra XRP ETF, which is a leveraged futures-based fund, which tracks XRP futures rather than holding the asset directly. And when Brad Garlinghouse was asked about XRP ETFs, here's what he said.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different tokens. I think you'll even see ETFs potentially around baskets that also, I think, further diversify that risk.
Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly Blackrock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall.
So his response says it all. Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Anyone that says I'm not going to comment on that clearly has been working on something behind the scenes. In fact, listen to what CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, said when asked about an XRP ETF.
How about an XRP ETF? I know you got Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't. And you don't want me to.
I do.
Well, I can't.
All right, they're giving me the rap.
So it's a similar type of response. I'm not going to comment on that. I can't.
Can you answer that?
I can't.
So it's a similar type of response. I'm not going to comment on that, or I can't comment on that. Not just a flat out no or a yes, because of legal restraints. Now, whether that's in non-disclosure agreement or what may be, the SEC requires strict confidentiality during the ETF application process to prevent market manipulation or premature speculation. So if they were working on an ETF application, they cannot say it legally, so they have to respond by saying what?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Can you answer that?
I can't.
So you can read between the lines here. So of course we can't confirm or deny that they are or they aren't, because they can't or they won't, or they're legally binded to not talk about it. So discussing a potential or pending ETF could be seen as signaling market sensitive information, risking violations of security laws. And BlackRock has already applied for other crypto ETFs like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So he doesn't want to move the XRP chess piece ETF on the board too soon until he needs to, and it's the right time, because he's still moving the other pieces to rake in money. Think about this in terms of a Hollywood movie launch. Notice how when a movie comes out, they film multiple movies at the same time in terms of series. Like Avatar, they filmed 2 movies back to back, but they didn't release them until years later. Why is that? Is because when one movie hits the box office, they have to milk that movie as long as possible to make as much money as possible before dropping the next one to increase the revenue of the next one as well too, and create more demand. So it's very easy to understand why hasn't BlackRock filed an XRP ETF and why silence is speaking volumes here. Despite the Ripple's SEC victory and growing ETF momentum around Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're still sitting out. So I thought this was a great post from All Things XRP in terms of why they believe they're not filing just yet, and they're letting these other companies file first, because they're milking Bitcoin and Ethereum success, just like a Hollywood movie would come out with the first movie and then wait a year or two before they come out with the next one. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust hit 30 billion in assets under management. The ETH ETF crossed 1 billion in just 60 days. So why add risk, and why slow down that momentum when you're dominating the 2 most proven crypto assets? Why not let the other companies get a false jump and a false start to get the red flag thrown on them, and let the SEC delay the decision on the XRP ETF for these other companies, rather than being a part of that list of companies that had it delayed? It doesn't show true power here to be in the line waiting to get into the club here. The true power move is entering through the back door. And the regulatory scars against the SEC still matter. Yes, the SEC lawsuit is behind Ripple now, but for institutions like BlackRock, the label security doesn't fade fast, especially when the SEC case isn't out of everyone's mind. Yes, it's over, but people still think about it. They got some PTSD. So BlackRock's ETF execs have made it clear Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only ones that check their boxes for demand, liquidity right now. XRP is close, but not quite there yet. They're watching Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, and others to make the first move, and those companies already made their move. They got caught offsides here, and now the SEC is delaying the decision until October. So a smart strategy is let the competitors face the SEC first. gauge the institutional appetite, then enter with scale once the risk is priced in. They can absorb as much money as they possibly can from the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs like a Hollywood franchise would do from one movie at a time. And they don't need to chase the headlines. They wait for leverage. When they launch something, it's to win, not to be first. It's not about who's first. It's about who does it best. And with 11.6 trillion assets under management, even more since then, they can afford to wait until the landscape is fully in their favor. So I'm not a chess connoisseur, but the queen is your most powerful piece, capable of controlling many squares, but moving her too soon can expose her to attacks or traps, forcing you to waste moves, retreating instead. Prioritize developing your knights and your bishops, controlling the center and castling your king to safety here. So that's what they're doing with XRP, using the XRP ETF move on the chessboard when it's the right time. Because XRP's market share isn't attractive enough yet, even though it is the second right behind Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum command nearly 70% of the total crypto market cap with $2.2 trillion and $500 billion. XRP is at $179 billion. So they just flat out don't need to make that move on the chess piece yet. They're already winning the game. And they don't launch products just because some Twitter users on X or people on YouTube want it. They launch when their institutional clients ask. And right now, it isn't loud enough. The demand is on Ethereum right now while Ethereum breaks out. And I talked about that in previous videos with Ethereum breaking out. Because even looking at Ethereum's price chart, the RSI is at 64. We just peaked out here at about 84. We're in a downtrend right now on the stochastic RSI. Where the K line and the D line are at 43 and 40. So this is not giving me a clear signal that now is the best time to buy Ethereum. Even though I think it's going to be going higher, I do think we could experience some further volatility to the downside for Ethereum before we break out to the upside while the stochastic RSI resets below 20, while the relative strength index pulls back a little bit further. And then we see the bounce, and then we see the breakout for Ethereum back to retest the previous high of about $4,000. So for those of you guys that caught that trade on Ethereum from $1,000 to $2,000 up to where it's at now, get ready because Blackrock will move when the odds are stacked in their favor. Every ETF launch is about timing. So they're not out of the game. They're just waiting to pounce. They will eventually file. And when they do, it'll be to dominate the space. And even on Ripple's side of the spectrum, Brad Garley now says inevitable. It's inevitable. And plus, they've been making power moves behind the scenes because if you look at this, the Chief Product and Innovation Officer from BNY Mellon will be speaking at Ripple Swell 2025. BNY Mellon is BlackRock's custodian for their BuildL fund. And BlackRock will be the first client to leverage the product. BNY will broadcast fund accounting data for the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, BuildL, and tokenized short-term US Treasury Fund. BNY Mellon currently acts as fund administrator and custodian of the fund's assets. And BNY Mellon joined the FedNow service to advance the US payment system. And interestingly enough, Ripple posted this back in July saying they selected BNY Mellon as the primary reserve custodian for RLUSD. And here's another interesting document here. Jess Chain, she was formerly senior counsel at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, where she specialized in a broad spectrum of payment system issues, including policy analysis of digital assets, stablecoins, and central banking digital currencies, and oversight of the Federal Reserve's payment services, including the FedNow service. Prior to that, she was counsel at the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, where she advised on the strategic direction of the fund's fintech work agenda and provided technical assistance to advance law reform in central bank legislation. So needless to say, talk about influence there. That's pretty high up. Previously, this is the most important part, she was Deputy General Counsel at Ripple, an officer at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and an associate at the New York law firm Wachtell Lipton. She went to Yale, and she currently serves as the vice chair of the American Bar Association Business Law Section's Uniform Commercial Code Committee. And to top it all off, she's Asian, so she's smarter than all of us. So this goes back to the videos that I made about 7 months ago, talking about gematria, the triskelion, and also where Ripple came up with the logo and what it has to do with, Jed McCaleb, Vast, Elon Musk, the Phoenix, Brad Garley house, talking about how they used to work on the Phoenix back in the day. So this is all part of their plan because they've been preparing to transition the economy over to blockchain for years because everyone understands that the US dollar is pretty much doomed. The purchasing power has been dropping over the past 100+ years. And Thomas Edison once said, if our nation can issue a dollar bond, it can issue a dollar bill. One fattens the issuers, the other helps the people. This is the problem at the core of our system. Debt-based money that enriches bankers instead of empowering citizens. So money is not the real root of evil. The real root of evil is usury. The solution is faith, trust, abundance, and transparency. And with blockchain, we now have the tech to fix it. And Larry Fink, of all people, even said that.
Digitization of currency, digitization of everything we're doing. And we have the technology now. The fact that we are now moving forward in tokenization, every bond and stock, is crazy.
So imagine the US Treasury on chain, every expense transparent in real time, no hidden deals, every office with a verifiable digital identity, accountability through a United States DAO. So the fix is simple: remove the usury, return money creation to the people, and put it on chain for everyone to see. We don't need more bonds. We need truth, transparency, and currency that serves the people, not the few. And this is what the USDebtClock.org has been saying for a while, saying the end is just the beginning, the new money revolution, coming September 1st, 2025. Because the US national debt is over $37 trillion, it's inevitable that crypto is going to continue to go up. So in my video about a day ago, I talked about this breakout for XRP and this sell-off before we continued to the upside. So let's look at the XRP, the US dollar price chart, and look at what's happening right now. We saw this breakout that I talked about the other day for XRP. We broke out of this downtrend. We were consolidating for a little while. We formed this bearish divergence right here where the RSI put in a lower high, the price chart put in a higher high, and I was expecting some type of liquidity flush out down here before seeing a bounce. And look at that. We saw this liquidity flush out down here, and now we're seeing a bounce back within this range. So just based on what the chart is showing right now, where we're at, I would expect there to be some type of bull flag right here on top of this $3 level before we potentially shoot higher. Now, because we didn't see a breakdown below support and we didn't sell off lower, we have to take the charts day by day. And like I said, we have to adapt and not be emotional here and be so rigid and think that it has to do one specific thing. So if we can hold the $3 level right here, a likely scenario is for us to continue higher. But we need to break above $3.13 for XRP to really make a move back to the high of this falling wedge, which is pretty much $3.38, $3.35. This level right here. This would be the next stop if we break out to the upside for XRP. And it can happen pretty quick. As you can see, last time that XRP started to make these breakouts right here, it just marched up and up and up and then had these little short-term consolidations before continuing higher. And so we are reaching that stage of the bull run where I do want to see XRP start to make a move higher. If we see XRP come back down within this range and then take a little bit longer to do anything, well, we just have to look for divergences because you don't need to know which direction the market's going to move. You need to know what to look for confluence by stacking the price action on the chart, the key indicators, divergences, and then looking for reversals and certain candlestick patterns to truly understand how to be able to trade these markets. So we talk about those on our live calls. We did that on a previous accelerator program call that was 2 hours long. You guys can go check out the replay for that. I broke these moves down in the shorts that we were taking during this phase when XRP was selling off a couple days ago for Ethereum as well too. And now we're seeing the markets experience a sharp recovery. So I would just expect major volatility going into the next FOMC meeting as we coil up here near the all-time high for total 2. And also for others as well too. We're still below this key neckline right here. So once we break this neckline, what I want to see is us break it and hold it as support to get aggressively bullish on altcoins outside of the top 10 because we're still lagging behind total 2, where total 2 is all the way up here. Others is all the way down here relative to the high of December. You know, if I just pull up total 2's chart, I mean, this is pretty easy to see. We're all the way down here for others, and total 2 is up here. If I just bounce back and forth between these charts, you can see this neckline right here from this December sell-off, this ABC corrective wave. And if I go back to total 2, you can see A, B, C. You can see the neckline right here. So going back to others, we're still below this major neckline. So when total 2 finally starts to make a move into price discovery, then we're going to start to see that rotation further down chain. And that's when others, in my opinion, will make a move to catch back up to the previous high of December. And when that happens, you have to be ready because on that move for total 2, that would be then the move for XRP to go back to the previous high of July of this year, because that's about $3.60. Then inevitably into price discovery as we work our way through here, through these bull flags before breaking higher, closer to $5. So I don't know, man. I find this all too big of a coincidence with Ripple, these higher level executives that are working for Ripple and the Fed, Larry Fink waiting to pounce on an XRP ETF, also the SEC delaying all of these XRP spot ETFs until October. Brad Garlinghouse saying that he has no comment, Larry Fink saying he has no comment. They're all being strategic here, guys. And interestingly enough, shortly after October, to where the SEC delayed these ETF decisions, well, in November is the key deadline for ISO 222, signaling the end of the coexistence of the traditional messaging standard for cross-border payments on the SWIFT network. So there is something big being set up right now for XRP, and this whole consolidation phase that we're going through right now is a textbook Wyckoff schematic here. I mean, you can see this with this major breakdown right here in phase A. As we lead into phase B, we see the low all the way down here. We come back up to test this neckline right here. We see another sell-off all the way back down to the spring phase to basically back test the previous support that we were at $2.70 something cents. We spring off of it. We go through this whole test phase right here with this recent sell-off. And now we're getting ready for phase D to go into the SOS, which is the sign of strength phase. So this would be us breaking back up to this previous highs of $3.30 to show some sign of strength on top of this neckline right here as support. In order for XRP to go into price discovery, we need to show a sign of strength. And because this is just textbook Wyckoff right here, I would not be shocked if we see a drastic move for XRP to the upside to validate this. If this doesn't happen, well then, maybe we're still going through the spring phase to go a little bit lower, or we're going to take a little longer to get through this whole entire test phase right through here before we go into this sign of strength for phase D, and then inevitably phase E for a breakout back into price discovery. So what we're going through right now for XRP just reminds me of this phase right here, phase C, where we had to come all the way back down here to back test the previous support, spring off of it, break this downtrend in this falling wedge right here. Right after we spring off of it, what do? We come back down to back test these support lines. We come back down to back test these support lines. And now we're going through the last point of support right here, which is pretty much roughly around $3, the last point of support before we go into the sign of strength phase in phase D. So we're getting there, guys. We're nearing towards the end of the year. I mean, we're coming into September right now. So we only have 4 months left until the theoretical end of this bull run based on Bitcoin's 4-year market cycle theory. So this would be crazy timing for XRP to start to make a move back up to $3.30. Inevitably, I want to see it go above it and hold on top of this, showing a sign of strength before we continue higher. And like I just mentioned, if that doesn't happen, well, then the spring phase is just going to take a little bit longer than expected to get on out of here. And we're going to chop for a period of time as we go into the FOMC meeting. But I think we're really close. And the others chart is building up pressure as well, too, for another major move. So we're on the edge of our seats right now, and our research team is spending 24/7 watching these markets to be able to find the best projects for you guys. And they're going to share them with you inside of Altcoin Pro University. For example, our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.